The Taliban just shocked the world with what they're building. But beneath the headlines, this isn't just about new roads or buildings, it's a bid for total control over Afghanistan's future. Right now, they're carving the largest man-made canal in Asia, hoping to rewrite the region's survival by rerouting rivers, fueling massive farms, and seizing power over trillions in hidden minerals. It's a project so ambitious that neighboring countries are already raising alarms. But if the world thinks this is the same Taliban as before, what they're building next may change everything. Why now, and what will it cost to succeed? On the northern edge of Afghanistan, excavators thunder day and night. The Kosh Tepa Canal, a 285-kilometer trench wider than a 10-lane highway, is taking shape at a speed that has stunned outside observers. Taliban engineers say the goal is simple: transform desert into farmland, up to 550,000 hectares, or an area larger than Luxembourg. At peak, 6,000 workers dig and haul, their progress tracked by satellite, and watched nervously from Tashkent to Ashgabat. The official budget stands at $684 million, with $100 million already spent from Taliban-controlled coffers. The canal's course runs straight from the Amu Darya, one of Central Asia's great rivers, slicing through the arid plains of Jowzjan and Balkh. Each meter of earth moved means more water diverted, up to 20% of the river's flow, by some estimates. But here's where the numbers turn from impressive to alarming. Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, both downstream, depend on the Amu Darya for their own crops. Their governments have issued formal protest notes, warning that even a 15% loss in river flow could devastate their wheat harvests and trigger shortages across the region. There's no binding treaty between Afghanistan and its northern neighbors. Afghanistan was left out of the 1992 Almaty Water Sharing Agreement. Instead, the Taliban's message is blunt: Afghanistan will take its share, with or without permission. Independent hydrologists warn of technical pitfalls. The canal is mostly unlined, raising the risk of water loss through seepage. Soil experts point to the region's sandy loess, predicting that unless sections are reinforced, much of the precious water could simply vanish underground. Maintenance will be a constant battle. Sediment from the Amu Darya could choke the channel, and extreme evaporation rates threaten to shrink the actual benefit. Still, Taliban officials insist that food self-sufficiency is within reach, and farmers along the route now hope for green fields where only dust blew before. Yet with every bucket of water claimed for Afghanistan, the pressure rises across the border. Uzbek and Turkmen leaders are calling for urgent talks, while NGOs warn of a looming drought downstream. Satellite imagery confirms the canal's relentless advance, but the question remains: when the water finally flows, who will reap the rewards and who will pay the price? Bakshabad Dam sits at the center of a different kind of power struggle. Planned for the Farah River, this unfinished giant is designed to irrigate 104,000 hectares and generate up to 45 megawatts of electricity, enough to light up entire districts and turn parched fields green. The Taliban's Ministry of Energy and Water claims the dam will anchor food security in the West, but the real impact stretches far beyond Afghanistan's borders. Every cubic meter held upstream means less water trickling down to Iran's Sistan-Baluchistan, where farmers already ration every drop. Local water experts warn that the numbers on paper rarely match the flows in reality. Years of drought, silt-choked canals, and unsteady funding have delayed Bakshabad for decades. But under Taliban control, the pace has picked up. Bulldozers returned in early 2024 with official blueprints promising both irrigation and round-the-clock power. Engineers say the dam will store enough water to buffer against dry years, but only if the turbines are maintained and the reservoir doesn't silt up. As one hydrologist in Herat put it, a dam is only as strong as the hands that keep it running. But here's where the promise of progress collides with geopolitical reality. On May 27, 2023, gunfire erupted at the Kang border post in Nimroz province. Iranian and Taliban forces exchanged live rounds after weeks of rising tension over Helmand River flows. The immediate spark: Iranian officials accused the Taliban of choking off water from the Kamal Khan Dam, leaving Sistan's fields bone dry. 3 men died, 2 Iranian guards, 1 Taliban fighter. The clash sent a clear message: water is no longer just a resource, it's a flashpoint. Official statements from both sides tried to cool tempers, blaming miscommunication and vowing restraint. But the facts remain. The 1973 Helmand Treaty guarantees Iran a fixed share of water, yet every new dam or canal upstream makes that promise harder to keep. Iranian state media called the incident an attack on their food security. Taliban spokesman insisted Afghanistan would no longer tolerate historic neglect of its own needs. Independent monitors logged the firefight as a warning. When water dries up, so does patience. The fallout lingers. Talks resumed, but no new agreement was signed. Construction on Bakhshabad continues, each concrete pour watched nervously from across the border. For every drop captured in Afghanistan's reservoirs, a neighbor downstream waits to see if the river will reach their fields, or if the next dispute will be settled with words or with bullets. Kabul New City is not just a skyline fantasy, it's a blueprint for a metropolis twice the size of Singapore, covering 722 square kilometers on the dusty northern plains outside the capital. The plan, first drafted in the late 2000s and revived by the Taliban, calls for 250,000 new housing units, enough to shelter up to 4 million people, almost the entire population of present-day Kabul. If completed, it would be one of the largest planned cities in Asia, with a grid of highways, green belts, universities, clinics, and industrial parks. Officials claim the first residents could move in by 2030, but the promise of a new city comes at a human cost. Bulldozers have already flattened entire villages in districts like Kasaba and Bagrami, pushing out families who have farmed the land for generations. In interviews, displaced residents describe being given days, sometimes hours, to pack up their lives. Compensation, when offered, rarely covers the value of lost homes or fields. Local NGOs, such as the Afghan Land Rights Network, report sporadic protests and allege that appeals are often ignored or blocked by Taliban officials. For many, the new city means exile, not opportunity. The funding for this megaproject remains shrouded in secrecy. Taliban spokesmen point to land sales, advance payments from mining deals, and interest from Gulf-based donors as the financial backbone, but no official budget or independent audit has been released. Contractors say payments are routed through informal networks, often in cash, with little clarity on oversight. Some foreign investors, especially from the Gulf, have sent exploratory delegations, but most major construction contracts have gone to Taliban-linked firms. The result is a project that moves fast but leaves few paper trails. Inside the city's master plan, Parcel B stands out. Construction restarted in August 2023, promising 6,600 new apartments for 40,000 residents. By late 2024, Parcel 2.6 drew a $700 million investment pledge. Yet, on the ground, much of the area remains a patchwork of half-built shells and deserted lots. The official timeline, full completion by 2030, looks ambitious, if not impossible, given current pace and economic headwinds. Still, the Taliban's message is clear. Kabul New City will be built, and those who stand in the way, be they villagers or rival contractors, are quickly moved aside. For the families forced out, the city's promise is a distant dream. Some have resettled on the fringes of Kabul, living in makeshift camps or crowded rentals. Others have scattered to rural provinces, cut off from jobs and schools. Their stories rarely make headlines, but they reveal the social fault lines running beneath Afghanistan's concrete ambitions. As the cranes rise and new roads carve through the dust, the question lingers: who will actually belong in this city of the future, and who will be left behind? Afghanistan's ambitions don't stop at its borders. In May 2025, a trilateral agreement brought China, Pakistan, and the Taliban to the same table, signing off on an extension of the $60 billion China-Pakistan economic corridor straight into Afghan territory. This isn't just a road or a rail line. It's a corridor designed to funnel minerals, energy, and trade from Xinjiang through Pakistan into the heart of Afghanistan. For Beijing, it's a shortcut to Central Asia's resources. For the Taliban, it's a lifeline that promises customs revenue and access to new markets. The centerpiece is the Trans-Afghan Railway, a 573-kilometer track tagged at $4.8 billion that aims to connect Uzbekistan to Pakistan by slicing through Afghanistan's mountains and deserts. If completed, it could cut freight transit from 35 days to just 4. But every kilometer means building bridges, over 300 of them, and blasting tunnels through some of the world's most hostile terrain. Each section is a test of engineering, but also of security. The Taliban promised safe passage, but the memory of past attacks on trains and convoys lingers among investors. Then comes the Tapi pipeline. In September 2024, Taliban officials staged a groundbreaking ceremony for Afghanistan's stretch of this $10 billion, 1,821-kilometer pipeline. If the project delivers, it could transport 33 billion cubic meters of Turkmen gas a year, bringing in nearly $1 billion in annual transit fees and creating thousands of jobs. Yet the pipeline's route crosses provinces long known for insurgency and instability. Securing a 700-kilometer corridor is a challenge that has stalled Tapi for decades. Taliban spokesmen insist that their fighters now guard the line, but independent monitors warn that peace on paper doesn't always mean peace on the ground. Energy isn't just about gas. CASA 1000, a $1.2 billion 563-kilometer transmission line, is designed to carry surplus hydropower from Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan south to Afghanistan and Pakistan. World Bank financing keeps the project moving, but only through a legal firewall that bypasses Taliban-controlled bank accounts. Electricity flows, but the cash never lands in Kabul's hands, an irony not lost on the negotiators who brokered the deal. For every corridor and cable, the risks are real. Security is the obvious threat. Armed escorts, drone patrols, and tribal negotiations are now part of every project's budget. But the less visible danger is financial. International sanctions choke off formal investment, forcing deals to run through informal networks, barter, or cash payments. Contractors complain of opaque payment chains, while foreign partners hedge their bets, wary of sudden policy shifts or local flare-ups. Yet the Taliban's negotiators are relentless. They pitch Afghanistan as the missing link in Asia's trade map, offering customs waivers, mineral access, and security guarantees to Chinese and Pakistani investors. Their message: invest now, reap the rewards when the world comes knocking. But for every new agreement signed in Kabul or Islamabad, there's a question that hangs over the border checkpoints and mountain passes. Can these corridors survive the next crisis, or will they become just another set of lines on a map? Beneath Afghanistan's deserts and mountains, a fortune in minerals waits, valued by the U.S. Geological Survey at up to $3 trillion. This underground wealth is the engine behind the Taliban's construction spree. Copper, iron, rare earths, and especially lithium are the new currency of power. At Mes Aynak, the country's largest copper deposit, the stakes are clear. In 2022, Chinese firms renegotiated a long-stalled concession, promising billions in investment and advance payments routed outside traditional banks. Each ton of copper ore dug from the earth funds canals, dams, and roads. But every shovel cuts through something older, centuries-old Buddhist monasteries and relics that risk being lost forever. Qadir Tamori, an Afghan archaeologist, leads a small team racing against bulldozers. He says, "At Mes Aynak, we have days to save centuries." Taliban security keeps foreign engineers safe, but local archaeologists work under pressure, with little protection if they protest. The funding loop doesn't end at copper. Lithium is the next prize. Since 2023, the Taliban have courted Chinese and Gulf investors, offering what officials describe as a 15% royalty on future lithium extraction, though no binding contracts or public figures confirm the deal. In Ghazni and Nuristan, site visits and memoranda of understanding have made headlines, but watchdogs warn that terms stay hidden, and environmental safeguards are barely mentioned. For now, minerals bankroll Afghanistan's megaprojects, but every dollar raised comes at a cost, from lost heritage to uncertain promises. As new mines open, the question grows louder: will the ground's riches build a future or bury the past? Procurement officials inside the Taliban's new ministries claim they've cleaned up the process. No more bribes, no more padded invoices. Tenders are supposed to run through escrow accounts, with payments released only after work is verified. But independent analysts say there's a catch. No external audits, no public contract database, and no way to track where the money actually goes. Most major contracts land in the hands of Taliban-linked firms or regional partners from Pakistan and China. In theory, this cuts out the old networks of kickbacks. In practice, it just moves the bottleneck behind closed doors. Sanctions are the next hurdle. International banks refuse to process loans for Taliban-run projects, forcing every deal through informal cash networks or barter with friendly states. That means no insurance, no international oversight, and little recourse if something goes wrong. The World Bank's workaround for CASA 1000, ring-fencing funds so Kabul never touches the cash, shows just how far global finance keeps its distance. Even Gulf investors hesitate, wary of getting caught in secondary sanctions. Security isn't just a talking point. Sabotage remains a constant risk, especially with groups like ISKP still active. While there's been no confirmed attack on a megaproject in 2025, every worksite factors in the cost of armed guards and drone patrols. Contractors warn that a single incident, whether from insurgents, local rivals, or even disgruntled workers, could stall a project for months. So, what milestones matter? Watch for satellite images confirming canal water flow, the first power from Azizi's solar plant, or visible pipeline laid for TAPI. Until then, every claim is just that, a claim, not a guarantee. The Kosh Tepa Canal, now stretching over 285 kilometers, stands as the largest man-made canal project in Asia under Taliban control. Since 2022, more than 6,000 workers have mobilized to reshape northern Afghanistan's water landscape, while $684 million in state funds have been allocated. These projects, along with Kabul New City and the renewed TAPI pipeline agreements, reflect a shift from insurgency to state building, aimed at self-sufficiency and regional leverage. Yet critical questions remain. Afghanistan's water-sharing treaties with neighbors are unresolved. Mineral deals lack transparency, and no independent audits of Taliban spending have been made public. Despite claims of anti-corruption reforms, sanctions and external financing constraints persist. As of today, Afghanistan's infrastructure ambitions are reshaping both its economy and its relations with neighboring states. The true impact of these projects, and whether the Taliban can deliver lasting change, remains a test the world is now watching, document by document and milestone by milestone.